The 90s generation, the ones who watched the world change because their most meaningful moments were never captured, replayed, or instantly shared. They lived them. Their childhood was analog. Their teenage years went digital. The 90s generation stands alone as the bridge between two worlds. They were the last to grow up fully immersed in real-time experiences before technology began documenting every second of life. They learned how to be present before they learned how to post. They remember when going online was a decision. You had to choose between the internet and the phone. You couldn't have both. They remember when talking to friends required planning. You agreed on a place and a time, and then you showed up. No live locations. No last-minute texts. If someone was late, you waited. And boredom wasn't something you escaped from. It was something you faced. You stared out of windows. You daydreamed. You created games out of nothing. You used imagination because there was no endless feed waiting to distract you. Today, boredom is solved by scrolling. Back then, boredom built creativity. That difference shaped the way 90s kids relate to technology forever. They use it, but they are not consumed by it. To them, technology is a tool, not an identity. The psychology of waiting psychologists often talk about a skill called delayed gratification, the ability to wait for rewards rather than demanding instant results. The 90s generation mastered this skill early. If you wanted to watch a movie, you waited weeks for it to arrive at the video store. If you wanted a CD, you saved allowance money for months. If you wanted to hear your favorite song, you waited for it to play on the radio and hoped the DJ wouldn't tea-talk over the ending while you recorded it. Good things took time. And waiting made them feel worth it. That lesson didn't disappear with adulthood. It shows up in how they approach life. They don't rush relationships. They don't expect overnight success. They understand that meaningful things grow slowly. They are patient with goals, intentional with decisions, careful with commitments. They know that anticipation makes rewards sweeter and that not everything needs to happen right now. The generation that witnessed the shift. What truly separates the 90s generation from every group before and after them is this. They didn't just grow up and change. They watched the exact moment the world transformed. They remember handwritten notes turning into instant messages, calling someone's house and speaking to their parents before reaching them. Privacy being normal and oversharing not yet expected. They experienced the shift from offline lives to online identities, from silence being comfortable to silence feeling awkward. This created a unique psychological balance. They can appreciate the simplicity of the past without rejecting the convenience of the present. They value authentic face-to-face connection, but understand the role of virtual relationships. They're comfortable with silence, yet fluent in digital communication. They don't romanticize the past blindly, and they don't chase the future obsessively. They live somewhere in between, naturally balanced. Small struggles that built resilience. The resilience of 90s kids wasn't shaped by motivational speeches or self-help books. It came from small, everyday challenges that no longer exist. Recording songs off the radio without the DJ ruining it. Finding your way using physical maps. Solving problems without Google. Figuring things out because there was no instant answer waiting online. These tiny struggles built something powerful. Mental toughness. They learned how to think before searching, how to try before quitting, how to fail without broadcasting it. Today, answers are instant. Back then, answers required effort. That's why 90s kids don't panic easily. They pause. They think. They adapt. Why talking to a 90s kid feels different? There's a reason conversations with people from the 90s generation often feel different. They're present without being disconnected. They're texty without being addicted. They know when to respond and when to put the phone down. They can sit in silence without reaching for distraction. They remember when life moved slower. And somehow, Even as everything around them accelerates, they've kept that rhythm alive. They don't need constant stimulation to feel fulfilled. They don't measure worth through visibility. They understand that not everything needs to be shared to be meaningful. Quiet depth over loud presence. The 90s generation isn't always the loudest in the room. They don't demand attention, but they have depth. They may speak less, but when they do, it matters. They don't chase validation, but their presence is felt. They know that some moments are meant to be lived, not posted. That some memories lose their magic when turned into content. They value quality over quantity, depth over noise. A bridge between two worlds, the 90s generation stands between two realities. On one side, a world that valued patience, privacy, and presence. On the other, a world driven by speed, visibility, and constant connection. They understand both. That's why they're often nostalgic, but not bitter. Adaptable, but not overwhelmed. They don't reject progress. They just refuse to lose themselves to it. The quiet strength they carry, the 90s generation doesn't claim perfection, but they carry a quiet strength. They understand that life is a marathon, not a sprint. That real connection exists beyond screens. That fulfillment doesn't come from constant noise. In a world that moves faster every day, their greatest skill might be this: the ability to move forward without losing their pace. If you've ever rewound a cassette with a pencil, if you've heard the sound of dial-up internet connecting, if you've built friendships without notifications reminding you to, then you understand. And if you haven't, that might be exactly what makes the 90s generation different.